The cards for this weekend are the Frog or Loskin, Insights of Fours, which include under stress and challenges. And then we have the Sacral Chakra. I'm sorry, they came out in this order. Crown Chakra, key concepts, a Throat Chakra affirmation, and the Sacral Chakra. And I'll go over how these all relate to each other now. So, the Frog or the Loskin is an invitation for us to become sensitive to ourselves, sensitive to those around us, and sensitive to the environment we're in. The frog's skin is very, very sensitive, and they bring about joy and happiness through their, what you would call, song, their ribbit, and through their hopping. And the frog is an invitation for us to find the joy and the magic in life. Living, their life half on land, half on water. It's also an invitation to understand how to connect your head and your heart, to really intertwine those two worlds, and to allow yourself to become sensitive to not only yourself but to those around you, which plays interestingly into the Enneagram card for this week, which is dealing with fours. When we are sensitive, we can also delve into the more negative sides of being sensitive, which is, being moody, struggling with your feelings, being easily hurt, feeling very misunderstood, being overwhelmed because you are being so sensitive. And obviously under stress, those things can become more difficult to deal with. These two cards are interplaying. I don't know if you can see all of the colors that go together as well. But these two cards are both an invitation and kind of a warning that, we are supposed to help those around us that we care about deal with their more sensitive issues because we are being sensitive, but it's also, contraindicative to become so sensitive that we feel overwhelmed. It's important to have the boundaries of skin, not a thick skin, but a sensitive skin that allows us to feel what is going on without being overwhelmed by what is going on. And if we're sensitive enough, we can help to help those around us who are maybe not doing as well emotionally or mentally in our environment to have a better time. The goal is always to be healthy and to have a sense of connection. And life is supposed to be a joyful dance and a joyful experience, but it's really easy when we're allowing ourselves to be sensitive to become overwhelmed by those sensitivities and to become emotionally distraught. And so these two cards together are really twofold, that, like I said, it's about being connected to those around us in our divine consciousness and allowing, the connection of sensitivity to help each other through the more difficult feelings that we may be feeling. The frog is also indicative of healing, and when we are healing, we can often become very sensitive to the things that we're going through. Healing is not an easy process. It's a very difficult, often, process of looking at things we don't want to look at, feeling things we don't want to feel, and coming to terms with some things in our life that are difficult. That's why we avoided them in the first place, because they weren't easy to deal with. But the frog encourages us to use song and music and sound, maybe getting interested in what is called sounding in the somatic experience, which is just making the noises that your body needs to make. There's a lot of psychological study. Peter Levine always talks about how trauma is stuck inside the body, and once the body completes the loop or completes the action, the stuck trauma can go away. And oftentimes we have points in our lives where, you stub your toe and you don't say ow all the way, or when you were a child, someone asked you not to cry when something really hurt, or you were too embarrassed to cry because of the company you were keeping. And I mean, the gamut of things we go through as babies that we don't even have recollection of going through them, whether or not we cried it out all the way. Sometimes there are these primal sounds that need to come out of us in order to let these experiences go. And so the frog encourages us to use sound not only through the traditional ways of music and singing and dancing and movement, but also sounding. And you can look that up anywhere online to, get a more in-depth understanding and connect with some, if you wanted to connect with some classes or some, I believe there are therapists or spiritual advisors, I'm not sure what they would call themselves, who offer courses and sessions that revolve around using sounding to let past experiences go, so that we can truly enjoy life and not find ourselves burdened down by the moodiness that can often come along with being a sensitive person, because you're around people who aren't as sensitive as you, and they hurt you in ways sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, but the hurt is there nonetheless. The pain is still there, and it's time to really move past our hurts and enjoy what life has to offer, so that we can become our little hopping selves, enjoying the in-between between the spiritual and the real, like the spiritual reality and the earthly reality, between the emotional reality and the logic reality, between those two types of worlds, and all their different variations. The frog is also trying to bring us into the knowing about, not the knowing about, but the remembrance of the magic and beauty life has to offer. And when we let go of our past pains, we can begin to see challenges as an adventure versus as a burden or something painful to go through. And we can really start to see the beauty of the different situations we find ourselves in. When we start to get into the chakra cards, the first card that we have is the crown chakra concepts. And that goes into play with all of this, that through these experiences and connecting with the divine, we get enlightenment and a more divine consciousness where oneness is really important. And that is like, the combination of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, the head and the heart, the spiritual and the earthly. And drawing those things into our body helps us to really enliven our divine consciousness. And so this weekend you may want to pay more attention to your crown chakra, do something that is, a specific meditation for your crown chakra, just spend some time with it and, clear any blockages that are there. You might want to find yourself dressing in violet. I myself purchased some violet things today, and that was before I drew this card, so it's clearly an energy of the weekend. Next, we have the throat chakra affirmation of, I live in my truth, I communicate my truth, I am the truth. And that goes into play with the song of the frog. When we heal and when we're honest, we can really work past the struggles of what healing has to offer us. The frog is really inviting us to use our whole aura and our skin as the most large, sensitive, and external organ. It's the most available organ that we have. It is the largest organ, and it's the one we can touch from the outside regularly. And what our skin touches becomes a part of our day that day. And our whole body and our aura are an important part of how we use our energy. And it's time for us to really be aware of how far our aura extends. Are we shrinking? Are we expanding too far? To get into that balance, so that we can live in our truth, not an over-exaggeration or a shrinkage of our truth, but our exact truth. And when we communicate our truth, we get to live our truth. And then here we are back at sounding again, and making sure that we are speaking our truth and clearing out any past, verbal blockages that may be stuck because we couldn't grunt or moan or cry or whine or sigh or scream or cheer, because it just wasn't safe or available to us at the time. And so I really do encourage, the more I talk about it, doing some sounding, whether or not you do sounding as a sounding exercise or you just chant, even, from the, traditions of the yogic traditions of doing those types of chants, even into Catholicism, there's services of chanting, and it goes across, from Christian to non-Christian places, that there are prayers that chant, there are meditations that chant, and it's a time to find something that works for you, that helps you connect to that throat chakra, to find a sound that works for you, whether it be a specific chant or a mantra or something you make up yourself or just a sound you like to make. Connect with something that allows your throat to feel free. And the last card that we have is the sacral chakra. And as you can see, it's located below the navel, and again, associated with emotions, pleasure, relationships, and creativity. And life is supposed to be pleasurable. We're supposed to be sensitive to our emotions because they help lead us in the right direction with something. When you're naturally in tune, like fully in tune, you can redirect yourself as soon as you start to know something isn't for you. And that's what emotions are supposed to do. They're there to draw you to what is yours. They're there to draw you to what is good for you. And, when we're younger, it takes a lot of advice to understand these things. But as we get older, we're supposed to have a better alignment and attunement so that we can hop happily along between our intuition and our logic, so that we can create a pleasurable life, and that relationships that we have are fulfilling and nurturing to who we are, and that we're really living a creative life. What point is there to life if you're not creating something beautiful? And I don't mean just art and song and dance and, creative arts. I mean creative change, creative conversation. Like, are you creating moments that matter? Are you creating decisions inside of yourself that bring about love and harmony and unity in the world? Are you creating the opportunity to heal something, whether it be in yourself or someone else? Are you creating the avenues that are for everyone's best interest and your highest good because they're your avenues to create? This weekend is a call to really monitor our stress level, as well as understand how to start creating what it is we're meant to create here on earth. And when you pay attention to, what you're sensitive to, what reels on Instagram make you cry, which ones make you laugh, which ones make you irritated. These sensitivities aren't there for you to make a judgment about other people. They're there for you to understand what moves you, so that you can start to create pathways of movement so that you can live your truth. So if you find something particularly moving, it might be a calling that you need to, start to get invested in that. A simple one is if, the stories of dogs that aren't adopted and they're in kill shelters, maybe it's time for you to start doing work in fostering dogs. If famine is what moves you, then get involved in sustainable food and agriculture. If political injustice is what moves you, then get involved in political reform. There are small roles that need to be filled that take not your whole entire life's investment, but they are moving you because you are meant to be part of that movement. And when you're sensitive to it, instead of, you see something that bothers you in the news, instead of getting angry about it, find your role in doing something about it. If climate change is what you are passionate about, if it really stirs something deeply in you, and especially if it makes you angry, don't just sit around and be angry. Of course, use your sound and sound it out for yourself, like you're sounding out a word, like when you were a kid. But then find your part of it. If recycling is something you're invested in, maybe take it a step further and figure out how you can reuse and repurpose things versus just recycling. Those are just some examples that are very common that people are moved by. If it's houseless people, or if it's starving people, then figure out a way that you can be involved in helping people. And it doesn't have to be outreach directly to the people. All of those programs need people who file paperwork. They need people who will volunteer, 1 hour a week to drive someone somewhere. They all need someone to fill these small roles, so it doesn't have to be your whole life's focus. But the more things like this you get figured out, that you feel good about, that you feel pleasure from doing, the more you're going to align yourself with the things that you enjoy doing. And this weekend is a call to really bring those things together, to allow what moves you, what stirs you, to have a vocal component to it. So if it makes you angry and you want to shout, that is your soul, your spirit, and your heart asking you to get involved in that subject matter. If it makes you laugh, that is your, call to bring more of that into your life. If it makes you sad, that is your call to take a look at what in you needs to be healed, and then what you can do for other people, what outreach you can offer to other people. And so this weekend, it's not, jump out there like a frog and start doing it right now. It's be sensitive to your skin, be sensitive to your aura, be sensitive to your emotions, and begin to start to decipher what it is that you have to offer, not only to yourself, but to the world around you, so that you can live in your truth and communicate your truth and be your truth. Because those are some of the most important things that we can really, nail down for ourselves. And then you'll see that your aura, which is, made up of the chakras, of how they're, so your aura is about your energetic field, and they emanate colors, right? And if we're using our aura to heal, you will really understand, a lot more about what's energetically going on around you. If you're in tune with those energies, if you're in tune with the sensitivity of your skin, not in a stressful way, but in a healthy and a happy way, you're really going to make the changes that make you happy. Instead of sitting there frustrated about what you read in the news, you're going to know that you're doing what you can to make a difference. And when you're doing what you can't help but be pleased with yourself. You can't help but know that things in the world can honestly be changed, not today and maybe not tomorrow, but they can be changed in small ways the more that more people are doing the work of being sensitive to themselves and to the world around them. So open yourself up, open yourself up to the energy of love and compassion around you. Remember that, it's important to have your head and your heart connected, to have your, the frog is, as you can see here, on the earth and in the water. It is grounded, and yet it is, spiritual. It is beyond. It is emotional, and it is firm. And it can live in both places, and that's the important part of us. We are meant to go to these emotional and spiritual places and bring back the lessons and live them in our lives. And this weekend is a call to do that, and then to have the release so that we can do it in a joyful way. Not in a doom and gloom and depressed and the world is never going to get better kind of way, but in the way where we can be happy with what we've done, whether it be donate or volunteer or even get a job in one of those fields. But our souls, our spirits, and our hearts are asking us to make the vocal choices to be a healthy version of sensitive, so that we can bring about the world that is full of healing and full of love.